kid, think about how many times you've looked up at the sky and pondered the question, why is the sky blue? Is it a reflection off of the ocean or some other sort of natural phenomenon? The answer is actually quite simple. So light travels in wavelengths, and whenever the sun's light enters Earth's atmosphere, gases and particles there actually scatter the light to create the blue hue that we so frequently see. I've spent hours collecting information and researching this topic, along with holding a few different conversations with a previous environmental teacher, in order to have the best collective understanding of this topic for you guys. Due to this, I feel really confident in the information I will be presenting you guys with today. Today we will be discussing why the sky is blue. I will be starting with the actual atmospheric conditions of planet Earth, and following that I will explain the actual light that sunlight is made out of and its varying wavelengths. And to conclude, I will provide information about how our eyes as humans actually respond differently to varying colors. So let's begin with atmospheric conditions of our planet. Being familiar with the gases in the outer layers of our atmosphere is actually vital for understanding the ways in which light scatters. Rayleigh scattering or selective scattering explains exactly how light scatters off of air molecules. Some of the air molecules are more effective at scattering smaller wavelengths, such as blue light, than other molecules are. Near the horizon, you'll notice that the sky actually fades into a lighter blue or a soft white color, and that is a direct result of the scattering and rescattering of the light's color throughout the atmosphere. It essentially dilutes the solution or the hue of that blue color. In his Blue Sky and Rayleigh Scattering article, Carl Nave, he's a professor of physics and astronomy at Georgia State University, states that the strong wavelength dependence of Rayleigh scattering enhances the short wavelengths, giving us the blue sky. So there's a scientific equation as well made by Lord Rayleigh to calculate scattering intensity. And it basically says that when light comes from different angles, it has a different intensity in the color. So specific gas particles that make up the atmosphere play a huge role in the scattering of light as well. Air molecules such as oxygen and nitrogen, which together make up 99% of our atmosphere, are so small in size that they actually are more effective at scattering the shorter wavelengths than those of, say, argon, which is denser and larger. In NASA's 10 Interesting Things About Air from September of 2016, they explain how the air in Earth's atmosphere is made out of approximately 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. Air also has small amounts of lots of other gases too, such as carbon dioxide, neon, and hydrogen. So knowing this information, it's absolutely no question why we see the blue that we see, since the air molecules that make up so much of our atmosphere are going to better refract those. Since we now have a basic understanding of Earth's atmospheric conditions, let's discuss my second topic of the colors of the sun itself. So the light emitted from the sun comes in all colors of the spectrum. Think about the rainbow. It's seen in the pyramid prism as well, if you are familiar with that. So Isaac Newton actually provided proof that the triangular prism could separate sunlight into its separate colors of the rainbows, which was already known, but he proved that if a secondary prism were to be introduced and refracted back, that it would turn back into white light. The sun itself appears to emit a yellow-green color, while it really emits every color whenever you look at it on a closer level. This is a result of the sun's ever-changing wavelengths that it projects into the atmosphere. However, according to NASA's Sun Primer article of 2013, we so frequently see the sun as a yellowish, featureless disk because when all the visible colors are summed together, scientists call this white light. And since the sun is an ever-changing, constantly changing star, the wavelengths given off the sun convey different information about the components of its surface and the atmosphere and the atoms that are actually reacting on the sun's surface. So from the same article from NASA in 2013, they explain how we see the visible spectrum of light simply because the sun is made up of hot gas. But when it comes to the shorter wavelengths, the sun sends out extreme ultraviolet light and X-rays because it is filled with many kinds of atoms, each of which give off light of a certain wavelength when they reach a certain temperature. So depending on the overall heat and the atoms of the sun, it can give out different lights at different varying wavelengths. So now that we know a little bit more about the colors of the sun, I want to tell you finally about the predispositions humans face due to the anatomical features of our eyes. So we have 3 types of cones, as well as monochromatic rods that allow us to perceive color. And the retina contains 2 cells that detect and respond to light, which are those, and they're called photoreceptors. So rods are active in low or dim light, and cones are active in brighter environments. Cones have color detecting molecules within them, which allow us to see different photopigments, and humans are limited to only 3. We have red, green, and blue. So our ability or inability to perceive light is a huge reason why we see the sky as blue. In Ethan Siegel's Why the Sky is Blue According to Science, published in Forbes in 2017, he explains that even though there's more violet light as it's shorter than blue light, it isn't enough to overcome the sting blue signal our brains deliver. A combination of the signals from 3 types of cones we have and the monochromatic rods must be interpreted by the brain when assigning color. So, in this speech, I have discussed atmospheric conditions that create a blue sky. Following that, I talked about the colors of the sun and its wavelengths, and finally, I informed you all about how the human eye and its anatomy actually impacts the way in which we perceive light. In conclusion, I hope you better understand the burning question of why is the sky blue? And from now on, whenever you look up at the sky, I hope you understand the reason why you are seeing what you see, and you apply this knowledge the next time that you're watching a sunset or enjoying a day at the beach. There's countless additional information on what creates the blue sky that we see, extending further beyond my 3 points, and I implore you to research more if it interests you. Thanks so much.